What the heck is title insurance? I remember that was a question that I had when I bought my house, and even when I first became a realtor, I was like, what is this and why is it important? Well, guys, it's the Buy, Sell, Love SoCal team, and we are here with Jessica. She is our title rep from Chicago Title.
Extraordinaire.
Yes, and so she's going to answer that question and a whole bunch more today when we talk about all things title, right? So
introduce yourself and how
please.
long have you been in title, what company? Tell everybody a little bit about you.
All right. Well, my name's Jessica Bellis. I'm with Chicago Title. I've been in title for over 17 years.
Wow.
17.
Yes.
Okay.
Since she was
aging
12 years
old, yes,
old,
yes.
she started
I
in
know.
title.
Yeah.
I
was
love
thinking,
it so much. But yeah, so it's not super sexy, but you definitely have to have it. There's two different policies. There's a homeowner's policy and a lender's policy. So when you're purchasing a home, typically the seller pays for the homeowner's policy in California. That's standard in California.
Yeah, we checked that box on the contract.
Right.
Yes. So unless it's negotiated, that's what typically happens. And that is protecting the new buyer coming in, that they're buying the property free and clear with no liens from the seller. And it's protecting all of the lot lines, and we go off the legal description. So that's what title insurance is insuring, is the legal description, to make sure your boundaries are what they are when you do purchase it, and that the ownership is clear.
So what, during escrow or right after you close, a mechanic lien or something comes up? Or like, what typically can come up that would be?
Sure.
And what would happen?
Yeah.
Sure. So typically on the lien side, so we're insuring clear title, right, for the new
Sure.
buyer. So a month after it closes, if something was recorded and we missed it, that's a claim on the title company. So we take care of that.
So you'll like pay it off and get it removed
Yeah.
and deliver free and clear title.
Correct.
And how long is that policy good for?
The policy is good until you sell the property.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, say Jack sells his property to Jill. Now, Jill is the owner, and something comes up a month later that there had been a lien on the property. Chicago Title is the title insurance on it. You guys take care of it. Do you go back to Jack and make him pay for whatever lien it was that he didn't take care of, or like
We
how does that work?
typically, on our side, on the back end, we'll try to contact the seller
Sure.
and try to negotiate. But we're going to take care of it.
In the
Regardless
meantime, your
for it.
insurance pays for
Correct.
it? Oh, got it.
Correct. That's on us.
Yeah.
And then your attorneys
So
go after
our
it.
legal
Right?
legal team will try to go after who we have to go after if it's a lien and things like that. But we're going to take care of it and make sure that the title is clear.
For that new owner.
Correct.
Have you had, this is what title insurance is for. So when you're in escrow, you get the title report that says, okay, here's who actually owns this property, here are all the liens or something. So if somebody buys the house and it closes and something was missed that's not just a lien, but it was like a claim to the property, like that's a little more complicated, right, than just like pay somebody off. If somebody is like, no, that was my house and you shouldn't have sold it.
Like in a trust.
Do you have any good horror stories or like how that works? I don't know.
I mean, typically it'll get held up in escrow. We won't even close.
Right.
As far as the trust, because the trusts are the big things right now, and the trustee, but then you have attorneys involved and it can get sticky, so it'll delay your closing.
Sure.
But typically we're not going to close because yes, we've had issues where somebody on the property will come back and say, no, I owned part of that house and I want my money for it. I was on title at some point and there was a quit claim and I was supposed to be added or taken off. We go back and we have to negotiate that. That's
Have you
on
ever
us.
had it where it's like closed, it didn't get held up in escrow, but then somebody comes back and is like, but no, I want the house, I don't just want the money? Or is that
No.
okay?
No,
I don't know, because it's like, what do you do at the point it's sold?
It's usually like a sibling.
As a realtor,
that
it makes
will
me
say,
nauseous.
I know.
Yeah.
Horror story, right?
No, it's usually a sibling through like the
Okay.
death of the family
That wants their money.
that wanted a piece of it that they were owed for
An
whatever reason.
ex-wife.
Correct. Correct.
So without naming any companies or clients or anything like that, what's the largest claim you've ever seen?
We've seen $10 million claims.
I believe
We've
it.
seen
Where it comes afterwards and it's like,
yeah.
we missed not we Chicago Title, but
Correct.
a $10 million claim was missed.
Oh yeah. Well, and a lot of that's why I think it is important choosing a title company.
Right.
Because yes, our policies are relatively the same, correct? However, we have billions in reserves at Chicago Title. So a claim like that is not going to shut us down. And we reserve
That's a good point.
We reserve billions of dollars for things like that because things happen.
And how does
It
the
does
pricing
happen.
on a title policy work for the seller? Because the
It's
seller's
all-
paying for this.
Correct. It's all based off the sales price.
Okay.
So we're a filed rate, and we're governed by the state of California that we cannot discount pricing. So everybody has the same exact pricing to make it fair for everyone, but it's all based off the sales price.
Okay.
So that's how they come up with that. And then there's the lender policy that the buyer pays only if there's a loan. So there's two policies, the homeowner's policy paid by the seller,
Okay.
and then the buyer's policy, which is for the lender if there's a loan. If it's all cash, there's no lender policy, but you're basically protecting the loan for the lender to make sure they're in first position.
Oh, okay. And so
that's-
that would just be wrapped up into closing costs.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what
And
a
the buyer
buyer
pays
closing
that.
costs.
Correct.
Okay, so you were talking about liens and like ownership claim to property, but you also mentioned like property lines. So I think like
Correct.
in the suburbs where you just all have your like nice little
Lot
square, it
tract.
doesn't really matter as much.
Correct.
But I know I had one I sold. Remember that one in Reach Canyon a couple of years
Yes.
ago where it was like the giant lot?
It's wacky.
And they were so thrilled because they had you guys from when they bought the home, and it was a really big lot, and there was some big question about lot lines. There was a developer who was trying to come in and actually build out part of the land that they owned, and there was a whole thing where Chicago Title helped them to fight the dispute over whose property was what and where the lot line ended. So
Sure.
I'm sure that comes up a lot.
It does. There's, yes, like Irvine, certain cities have the typical lot and track. That's pretty standard, right?
Sure.
But Fullerton, some of the other areas, we always recommend to get your easements plotted so you know exactly where like easements are.
When would you do that? Like in escrow?
Yeah.
Or?
You would do that when you open up a prelim.
Okay.
Just ask your title rep to plot the easements and we'll take care of that for
And
you.
that might be
That's in like a
thing-
unique property, right?
Typically, yes, because people want to know if there's a road in the back of the property or if there's
And
an
who has
easement
access.
that the neighbor can access the back of it or a side yard or something like that. And it's kind of hard to tell just because of the way the property
So what does
is
it look like
located.
when you say to have an easement
Yeah,
plotted?
does that mean
what
a
does
person
that
goes
mean?
out
Somebody
there
comes
and-
out?
So we have a
Stakes in the
third party
ground?
that works for us, and it's an engineering company that goes out and they look at the different easements, and you'll get a map with it color coded, and it shows exactly where that specific easement is, what it looks like, and where it is on the property and where it's located.
Interesting. Is that an extra fee?
We don't charge a fee for that.
So
It's
that
a
would be
fee
good
of
to do
just
at the
cost
time of
doing
listing.
business.
Right.
You
Right.
know, rather than
Right.
scramble and escrow, and now we're pushing buyer's contingencies.
Especially
later.
if there's like, sometimes you have that weird thing where it's like, oh yeah, I've let my neighbors do this for 10 years and it's not
Yeah.
on, title.
But then you get
maybe
a new
need to-
neighbor.
right?
It doesn't want you to.
But they've been allowed to, so like you
Correct.
need to put it on there, or
Correct.
that's interesting.
And usually if there's access roads in the back that look like, it looks like it's my road, but maybe the neighbor can use it, but maybe they can't. That's one of those that you want to plot to make sure, is it an easement? Does the city
a
have
legal
access?
easement?
Yeah, does the city have access, or have I just been a nice neighbor and let everyone use it?
Interesting.
Very
So
interesting.
things like that is good. But yes, so we ensure the legal description, which is all the lots and the lines. So if, say you close escrow, somebody moves in next door and is adamant that the fence is over a foot on their yard.
Which happens.
That
It's
happens.
I'm in
Quite often,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
My fence, I'm pretty sure, goes to where my property line is supposed to be, but I think the people behind me dispute that I'm over their line. So
Right.
this might come up at some point.
Yeah, my neighbors
that
have
happens.
sprinklers
It happens a
on
lot.
a piece of my property. Like they have their landscaping and their sprinklers, but it's legally my property. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I mean, all
It does
those
happen. And
The
some
fruit
people
hanging
care.
over the wall. You can't pick my fruit. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I can.
Yeah, it's on
No, you
my.
can't.
You
If
can't.
it's still attached to the tree, it's not yours,
But if
even
it's
though
in
it
your
comes into your
airspace?
space. No, I just read this. Do you know? Whatever. This is the title
really?
thing. Yeah, we'll
You've
have to
been
look
picking
this
someone's
up.
fruit all these days.
No.
breaking the law, John.
Yeah,
So
so,
that's
what will
fascinating.
happen was if the new buyer comes in, say next door, and is stating that, they'll have to hire their own surveyor to come out and do all the legwork. And if they do determine that, then the title company that insured the property is in charge. Like,
Yeah.
you know. So we do insure those types of situations because that gets expensive when you have to
Right.
send out a
So
survey.
like, would they come in and like, if, in the case of like your example where the sprinklers are on your land, if you wanted to say something and they had title insurance, would the neighbor's title insurance pay to like move the sprinklers?
Well, they would have if
Or-
it legally is like if their insurance covers because it will cover that piece, but if it is on their property, the title company has to pay to take care of whether it's that wall to move it over,
Interesting.
whatever the
Dispute maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm just being a good neighbor, and I mean, it's their landscaping,
Sure.
their
Sure,
water, and so
Maybe you can tap into their sprinkler line and water your
right, water my own.
I actually had a client do that. They were TMI, and I won't give you the property address, but they were in an HOA, and the front yard landscaping was covered by the HOA, and so was the watering. And so to water his backyard, he just tapped into that, plugged it to the
No.
backyard, watered his whole backyard with the HOA watering.
Amazing.
I don't know this.
It's incredible, right?
Wow.
This was in a city in the Inland Empire, so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
And one of the things that we also see when our clients, after they close escrow, they get a letter in the mail that says, send us $60 for a copy of
We're going
your...
to monitor your title.
Oh, no, grant
No, to
deed,
get a
like-
copy
Oh,
of
to
the
get a
grant
copy of
deed,
the-
the
yeah.
flag.
So we were talking about this earlier,
Yes.
and although it's not illegal,
No, it's a company out there wanting to make money off of that, but that's a service that's free. It's a recorded document with the county, so you contact your favorite realtor, of course, and they'll give you a copy of that for free. That's not anything that you need to be paying for, even though, yes, you will get that letter in the mail, but it is a free document that's recorded with the county.
very important.
Yes, so make sure you don't pay for anything like that.
Oh, well,
And so I jumped the gun, but yeah, there are services too that advertise they'll monitor your title for you.
Correct.
Lock it like your
Are
credit,
these,
but
yeah, are these like credit monitoring? Is this a LifeLock for your title?
Yes, so you don't need that either because your Alta homeowners policy covers that. So yes, there's companies out there that will say that they will monitor your title. So anytime anything gets recorded on the property, you'll get notification on that. Us as a title company, that's part of your insurance when you get the homeowners policy. Every time, everything's monitored. Anything that is just put on your property, like I said, you have insurance for that. So you don't need to pay a fee to be monitored.
This is, of course, unless it's legitimately placed on your property. Like you didn't pay your trash bill for 19 months.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But anything like that, you would contact your realtor, and we can look up any of those things for you
Yeah.
for free. You don't need to pay a monthly service to be monitored.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Got it.
just a company that wants, to make money off of things like that. But
Interesting.
you don't need to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can pull up any documentation on your property. We can look at the chain of title to see who was on it prior, now.
and help change even if you took ownership of the house in your own name and you wanted to switch over
Add.
to a trust.
Yeah.
I know like that's the sort of thing that I'll call you for help
Correct.
with too. So
If you want to add someone on title,
Yeah.
take somebody
got
off
married
title.
or
We always see that like where a husband and wife will buy a property, but the husband's the only one getting a loan, and so then they add the wife to title after, or vice
Right.
versa. The
Yeah.
wife adds
Yeah.
that, vice versa. See
Yeah.
that a lot.
get their
Yeah.
act together, make a trust, whatever, put it
Yes.
in the name of the trust.
Yeah, so we can help you, exactly, record any type of documentation. If you want to add somebody, take somebody off, things like that. Yeah, title.
Well,
will
we know
help you
that
with
we appreciate all the help that you have offered us over the years, because it is kind of like one of those erroneous things that you're like, what is this? What does it cover?
Yeah.
When you
And-
go to, you're looking at your like statement of closing costs, you're like title insurance, but like, oh my goodness, the
I
number
really
of
need that?
things that
I know.
have
Is
come
Is this just
up
another
over.
insurance scam?
I know.
Right.
And people think that until you need it, until something does happen, or until something is on the property that you're like, wait, this isn't mine. It's not even my name, but it's recorded on there. Well, then we'll go in and take care of it, make sure, get it off, things like that, or anything like a new neighbor moves in and you want to make sure that your boundaries are protected. Contact us. We take care of all that for you.
So I do actually have a fun story. If you've been watching this long, then you deserve a good story about this, where you helped me on this. This was a long time ago. We had a listing in Fullerton, and we ran the prelim, because of course we run a prelim title at the beginning of the transaction. And my client's name was a very common name. I'm not going to say it out loud, but it was a very common name. And
John Smith.
yeah, it was. Her first name
Basically.
was Jennifer, but her last name was super universal. So anyways, we run the prelim, and there's all kinds of stuff on the title. And she was a straight A, good FICO, great person. And she's like, this is not me. And of course, as realtors, we hear this all the time. Like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
surprised that I have a ding. No, she was serious. So we went to you, and you had us fill out what's called a statement of information.
Correct.
And this lined up her name with a social, with like a soft credit inquiry, those questions that they ask about your
Correct.
credit history. And you were able to determine that everything was false.
Yes.
And this is like a whole list of
Wow.
like false items that were on the title, where it ended up we weren't going to be able to sell the house.
Yes.
But through the assistance of title, we were able to clean all that, expunge it, make it disappear. and
My
we
turn
sold.
for a story.
Yes.
Oh.
When I went to go sell my grandparents' house a couple of years ago, they owned it free and clear, but something had come up showing that there was several $100,000s of dollars of
remember this.
mortgage, remember?
Yeah.
And he's like, I paid that off years ago, and the company had gone out of business, and it was just like they weren't going to be able to move to their next dream home because of this showing up, that it was
Sure.
like something that needed to be paid back. And again, statement of information,
Yes.
title was able to come in and say, yeah, you have enough information here to show this was paid off and this
Right.
company doesn't even exist anymore.
Yep.
So title
And
for
a
the
lot-
win.
It does, and a lot of
Right.
times these are common issues. Both of them are. So the statement of information is huge. I recommend to get those done right up front because it can do one or the other. It could add stuff on you could have a prelim with a common name, like you said, and everything pop up on it, right? And that will delete everything off. Or it could be the opposite. We could go to close, we get the statement of information, and an IRS lien that's attached to the client's name pops up the day of close.
God.
Right,
Well,
right.
guess what?
You're right.
The IRS is going to attach it to anything you own. That's why they do it to the name instead of just a property.
Right.
Because they attach it to anything that you own. Well, now we can't close without that.
So you fill that out early.
Fill that out
So,
early,
oh my
get
God.
that turned in, and we can start working on that just in case that happens. Or we can take things off that wasn't yours. We could do kind of both things. And to what you said, as far as like there was a lot of loans back in 2007, 2008. A lot of lenders went away, right?
Yep.
Yes, they
So
did.
if a reconveyance, if you paid off your loan and they didn't record a reconveyance, it's still going to be on there.
Yep.
And so they're going to say, wait, there's this loan from
That's
1993
exactly what happened.
that we paid off a long time ago. I don't have any paperwork on it.
Yeah, who
'cause
does
keeps-
from
20
I've
years
moved-
ago, 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
I mean, I don't know. It's in a box somewhere. So we have to do research to try to find out because that will be a cloud on title. That'll stay on there until you record
Oh my
a
God, and
reconveyance
thank
to
God,
take it off.
because you guys saved the day. They were just
Because
like
that's hundreds of
distraught.
thoughds of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And so
And
these
it'd
are
be
these
like
are
a-
common things, right?
It's very common, especially that one. A lot of banks go out of business.
Homeowners are like blown up when this happens. They're like, how can there be a mistake made? Well,
They
it's
have
pretty
no
easy.
idea.
It's all
no
the
idea.
time.
They have no idea, but that one happens more than not.
Yeah.
And then we have to do some back late work because we have to get something recorded, or the new buyer is going to have.
And on the title
It's
still.
just going to keep carrying
Right,
over.
right.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't just go away.
very important to have title
Holy
insurance.
smokes.
Moral of the story. It
Yes,
sounds
right?
boring, but
I
you
know.
don't need it till you need it. But when you need
Exactly,
it, you
you
need it bad.
need it.
I know their stories. I could tell more just between Mount Olive or how we
Oh my
even started
goodness.
working together. We could go on and on and on with title
Yeah.
Yes.
scares, but moral of the story is it's very important.
Yes.
Yes.
Trust
Jessica.
who you're working with.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for
much.
joining us
You're welcome.
today.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.
Okay.
Thanks for watching.
See you guys later.
Subscribe.